Hello, hello, hello. Good evening. It is Thursday, April the 13th, and you are watching the Firestarter Show. My name is LaKeesha Hines, and I'm so excited to be here with you this evening. So excited to be here with you. We are talking about the power of listening tonight. The power of listening and how important it is. I have heard many pastors say this one thing that I'm about to say to you right now. God gave us one mouth and two ears for a reason. He gave us one mouth and two ears for a reason because we need to listen two times more than we need to speak. And I understand that that can be extremely difficult for some and not as difficult for others. But we are not standing in a place of judgment this evening. No, we are not, because we are all different. We're all individuals, and all of our struggles are different. So I just wonder, do you struggle with knowing when to speak and knowing when to be quiet? Like, is that a challenge for you? Or are you one who struggles to communicate? Do you have difficulty communicating? Anytime we have two people who are in a relationship, there's usually one who talks a lot and one who doesn't talk so much. Which is a good thing because it can kind of balance you out. But at the same time, it could be a bad thing because the one who is not talking a lot typically wants the person to not talk as much who talks a lot. And then on the opposite side, the one who talks a lot wants the other person to speak more. So it's easy for us to get out of balance as it pertains to that. So tonight we'll talk about the benefits of listening and four things literally that can happen when you truly start to listen. All right, so let's go ahead and start with number one. The first thing that can happen when you truly listen to each other is empathy. Empathy comes up because you're not just hearing words. You're not just waiting to formulate your reply. How many double dutchers do we have out there? Like old school used to double dutch back in the day, and you used to jump into the ropes. And you know how you were waiting, like trying to find the perfect moment and find that rhythm to be able to jump in. So you kind of standing on the side doing this number right here. You just waiting to get in, right? So you can jump into the two ropes that are swinging so that you can have your turn, right? To jump, and you want to jump as long as possible. Similarly, this happens in conversation. When you have someone who doesn't really listen, they're on the sidelines just waiting for you to stop talking, waiting for you to swallow, waiting for you to take a breath so that they can jump in and start talking. And then they want to talk for as long as they possibly can. But when we really stop and take the time to listen to each other, not only are we hearing the words, but we're hearing the feelings and the emotions that are behind the words. Then we get to a place where we're asking questions to try to get a better understanding of where each other are coming from. And I promise you, if you do this, empathy will come. And empathy is so important because when we are able to empathize with each other, it can truly transform the way that we go about handling and managing conflicts. When empathy is there, usually kindness is right next door, understanding is right next door. And even when we get upset, even when we're frustrated, even when we're stressed out, we're not seeing eye to eye, we cannot seem to agree. The more empathy we have, the more empathy that we have, the more likely it is that you will remember or that you will think about or that you'll give your spouse grace or you'll be patient with them and recognize that they're doing the best they can. And this communication thing is hard. It's like top three. And the reasons why couples don't make it is that they cannot figure out how to communicate. And it's one of the biggest issues, with conflict within couples, within relationships, and really any type of relationship, even business relationships. If people can't communicate, if they can't understand each other, if they can't get on one accord, they can't get on the same page, then we're going to have issues. We're going to have issues. So communication is critical and it's key to every single aspect of our lives. All right. And we want to be able to truly listen to each other, which is a major part of communication, so that we can formulate that empathy for one another. All right. Something else that happens when we truly, truly listen is that we become so much better at meeting each other's needs. I always say, in a perfect world, I wouldn't have to tell my spouse anything. He would just know. And at one point, I remember early in my relationship, I just expected him to just know what I want, what I need. And I shouldn't have to tell him, which was crazy because you're going to know each other, right? But I know in a perfect world, we would know exactly what our spouses need, exactly what our partners need from us, and then be willing and agreeable to meeting those needs. But we know in the real world, it doesn't always work that way, right? Because neither one of us are perfect. We're going to make mistakes. There will be imperfections, right? On both sides, both sides. And let's keep it real. Sometimes we're okay at communicating our needs. Sometimes we're great at communicating our needs, but a lot of times we're not good at communicating our needs. And sometimes we don't communicate them at all. And that can happen for many, many different reasons. Sometimes, especially when I'm working with couples, I realize that usually the way that they communicate is a product of how their parents communicated with them, like how they learned how to communicate growing up. And they've carried that into adulthood. And a lot of times, I am, again, working with couples where someone in that equation was taught that their needs don't matter. And they were programmed not to ask for what it is that they wanted. And I find that too with individuals who grew up who didn't have a lot of resources. Their family maybe didn't have a lot of money and they couldn't get a lot of the wants. They got their needs met. And sometimes some of the needs may not have been met. These are the ones that I find a lot of times really struggle with asking for what it is that they need, because they feel like, again, what's the point? I'm not going to get it anyway, because that's what they've been brought up experiencing. So sometimes, again, we don't communicate our needs well, and therefore we can't hold our spouses accountable for not meeting them. We can't hold someone accountable to something that they never knew was an expectation. Okay. Now, on the flip side of that, sometimes you do communicate what it is that you need, but your spouse misinterprets what you tell them, or they don't hear it at all. That really happens. And I know the ears work, but sometimes they don't hear it. So it may be selective hearing. Maybe their own needs are not being met. So they have become immune, deaf, tone deaf to what it is that you're saying, and they just completely block it out altogether. But I will tell you that listening is necessary, and it is key, and it is necessary on both sides. It helps you to read between the lines when your spouse may not be communicating effectively. It allows you to understand what they're feeling so that you might even be able to anticipate what they need. And when needs are being met, you both feel more satisfied in your relationship. And ultimately, isn't that what we are looking for? Yes, we want to be satisfied in our relationships, and listening is a critical, critical part of that. So I hope this is resonating with you. I hope this helps you. We want to take a quick break. Remember, don't swipe left, don't swipe right, don't go anywhere. Be right. We will be right back. You're watching the Fire Starter Show. Hello, everyone, and happy Thursday. My name is LaKeesha Hines, and I'm a fire starter. My new show, The Fire Starter Show, airs every Thursday night live at 7 p.m. on Facebook and on my YouTube channel. Words cannot begin to express how excited I am or how much I'm looking forward to sparking up a conversation with you. Speaking of spark, let me tell you what it stands for. Sex, parenting, arts, relationship, and kingdom. This show will motivate, inspire, and excite all those seeking to enhance their lives. Not only will I ignite the fire, I'll help you keep the flame. See you tonight. Hello, hello. Welcome back. Welcome back. Please be sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Tell your friends and family and everyone what is going on over here. If they want information, they want resources, they want support, they need to be tuning in. They need to be tuning in. I know how you all love to watch a replay. I'm here for that too. But it's great when you're watching live because guess what? You get to get your questions answered live, 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 live. But all right, let's continue our conversation about the power of listening, the power of listening. Something else that happens when you truly, truly start to listen is that you find yourself fighting less often. You know, when we are listening to understand versus listening to respond, we have a tendency to make fewer assumptions about what our spouses mean or what their intentions were. So often we jump to conclusions, we get angry, we respond in a way that is only going to further increase the tension, the conflict, right? And then now our spouse is reacting in the same way that we're reacting. And then we can't see the big picture. We know for a fact conflict is going to happen. It's inevitable. It is going to happen. But when we listen to try to understand instead of being defensive, then we're more able to accurately interpret each other's words and actions, and we're not taking them out of context. And this prevents just a simple, innocent, easy conversation from going left, turning into an argument because of misunderstandings and misinterpretations. So that is why we truly, truly have to listen. And then once you hear whatever it is that you're hearing, summarize, repeat it back, say it back to your spouse to make sure you heard it correctly, especially if they say something that offends or upsets or frustrates you. You want to say, what I heard you say was XYZ. Did I get that right? Was that accurate? Was that correct? And give them an opportunity to confirm or correct. Because many times what we're hearing is not what they're actually saying. Okay, so we need to get clarity before we go off the deep end, for lack of better words. All right, something else that can happen when you truly, truly listen to each other is, we form now a new type of energy. We move from negativity to positivity, which brings us closer together and causes a deeper connection. So when we're listening to each other, truly, truly listening to each other, judgment, criticism, defensiveness go out the door, or at least they decrease, right? Everybody wants to feel heard. Everybody wants to feel understood, and everybody wants to feel supported. So when you're listening, that's exactly what happens. You make your spouse feel heard. When you say back what they're saying to you, what they've said to you, you make them feel understood. And then whether you agree or not, you validate their feelings, then they feel supported. And I know that feels great because it's happened to me. So I'm telling you, it makes sense that when you are able to create that positive space, that you're more likely to continue sharing your feelings, whether they be positive or negative, with each other consistently and on a regular basis. And so maintaining a strong connection, especially when we're having tough times, pays off. It pays off. You get confidence as a couple. You cultivate a trust in each other that boosts your relationship resilience, and also, again, creates this deeper connection, which ultimately impacts your sex life in a positive way. So if you don't walk away with anything else, understand that being a good listener, not only is it like a direct impact on your level of communication, be it a good level or a lower level of communication. But being a good listener also contributes to you being a good spouse overall. And it doesn't stop there. Again, it helps you to reduce your fighting. You're not fighting as often. You're being more productive as a couple and individually. You feel more satisfied. You feel more connected. There's more empathy, all of that. So, literally, listening is just the tip of the iceberg in terms of the positive effect that you can have throughout your relationship. So, we want you to make sure that you are communicating, that you are listening, that you are taking turns listening, that you're repeating back what you hear. I promise you it will pay off. And the more consistent you are with it, the better it will be, the easier it will become, the more thankful and appreciative your spouse will be. So I want to say thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for watching. You can always, again, catch the replay. And you can always go to my website, LaKeeshaHines.com. And you can always reach out there if you have questions, if you want services, if you want to participate in a class, whatever the case may be, you can always go to that website. You can also send a text message to 727-213-8247. You can always call or text 727-213-8247. So I hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful evening. Hope this is ushering you into your Friday and ultimately into a wonderful weekend. And I will see you here same time, same place next week. All right. Have a good night. Enjoy the rest of your week. Peace and blessings. Good night.